Hey everyone, John Zodians here. Welcome back to another episode of Cosmic Crime. Today we are going into more depth on the Elisa Lam case, and I'll be sharing my theory on what happened to her using astrology. So if you haven't watched my previous video where I go over her birth chart, then please watch that first so you know where I'm going with this. I'll put the link down or in a card up above so you guys can click on that first. If you're not into astrology or the supernatural, then this video really isn't for you. So leave it for the people that do believe in it, or you can watch it out of curiosity. You know, it's really up to you. I can't make you do anything. There's a lot of conspiracies out there. This is just one perspective. Whether you choose to believe it or not is really up to you. Before I forget, I have a Discord called Cosmic Clan. I host this with 3 other friends. You can ask questions about tarot, astrology, spirituality, or more. You can make friends and join in on any current raffles. So as a medium myself, I'm a really strong believer that there's a divine connection with those who struggle with mental illnesses and also the spiritual realm. So I feel like these types of individuals live in between 2 worlds, the physical and the spiritual, and it can be hard for them to distinguish who and what is real in their waking lives. Left unchecked, it can literally drive them into insanity, and I feel like Elisa Lam was one of these cases. So if you watched my last video, I went over her Scorpio moon, Cancer Mars, and her multiple 12th house aspects with her Mercury in Aries. Those who have multiple water signs in their birth charts are natural empaths, meaning they are sensitive to the energy around them and with all life forms in both the physical and spiritual realms. Her planetary makeup is the reason why I feel that she's a medium, and also a very strong one, but also someone that was unaware of her gifts, and I'll explain why through her chart. There have been multiple tragic deaths at the Cecil Hotel, which started on January 22nd, 1927. A man named Percy Cook allegedly took his own life with a gunshot to the head. Since then, there have been a record of 18 deaths total. And I'll put the list up here so you guys can see it. I can't say it all out loud. Out of those 18 deaths, there were 2 murders, and they were both acquitted. One being acquitted for insanity, and the other being cleared years later after a murder, and it still remains unsolved. Upon further research, when I was looking at Skid Row, there's more than 100 hotels there. So out of all these hotels, how could there be so many deaths in Cecil Hotel? And almost all of them are unsolved mysteries. There's too many tragedies that have happened for this to be mere coincidence. This all relates to Elisa Lam's story in a big way. Going back to her birth chart, this is why I think that she's a medium. So according to her chart that we analyzed, and if it is accurate, she has a Scorpio moon in the 7th house of partnerships. She also has multiple square aspects with her Mercury in Aries in the 12th house of self-undoing. Most notably, her Aries Mercury is in a square aspect with her Capricorn Neptune, which is in a retrograde, in the 9th house of mental exploration. In astrology, if you want to know if someone has a divine or supernatural gift, you look to the Neptune and its connection with other planets. The gift is also stronger when in connection with the moon or Mercury. If we take a look at the moon is the luminary of hidden self, our emotions, our instincts, our intuition. It's how we process and express our emotions. So Elisa Lam's moon is in Scorpio in the 7th house. The 7th house belongs to Libra. The Libra's motto is I balance. Scorpio's motto is I desire. Summed up, it means I desire balance of emotions. And that's how we can read a planetary placement in a house, right? It's easier to sum it up like that. So from what we know about Elisa, we know that she had a difficult time balancing her emotions. This was something we saw on her Tumblr account. We must also consider that Scorpio is the psychic of the zodiac. They are able to predict certain events using their intuition, especially if they develop their supernatural senses, like mediumship. This is important because Scorpios have a strong connection with the spiritual realm and gravitate towards the occult and the supernatural. They may not always know why, but because they have the darkest energy of the zodiac, they're pretty much destined to embrace both light and dark energies in this world and in the afterlife. So the afterlife for Scorpios is very important to them, and how they understand the afterlife and the spiritual realm will be also very important to them. This is important to know this because when we talk about her mediumship and her connecting with people on an emotional level, she will also subconsciously connect with them on a spiritual level. Mercury is the planet of mentality, perception, and communication. It's how we engage with others and how we process our thoughts and ideas. Elisa Lam's Mercury is in Aries in the 12th house of self-undoing. The 12th house belongs to Pisces, a mutable water sign known for their spiritual intuition. In her chart, Aries resides in this house. So the motto for Aries is I am. Motto for Pisces is I believe. Because her Mercury is in the 12th house, it sums up to I am a believer in the self-undoing of my thoughts. Basically, it means whatever she thought of, she reflected deeply on it. Combined with her Scorpio moon, she internalized a lot of her thoughts and feelings. If she expressed them, it would be an intense reaction or overreaction of the situation. She was capable of reflecting on the event later, but she probably felt a lot of guilt because it's just pent up emotions, pent up guilt. Although she wanted to change how she processed it, it would have been very challenging for her because her Mercury was also in a square aspect with her Cancer Mars. So how she felt and how she acted were often in conflict. Now let's get to Neptune. Neptune is the planet of illusion and imagination, but also the planet of higher intuition, psychic abilities, and spiritual connection. Elisa Lam's Neptune is in Capricorn in the 9th house of mental exploration. So the 9th house belongs to Sagittarius. Sagittarian's motto is I see. Since Neptune is in Capricorn, we have to think of Capricorn's motto, which is I use. Summed up, it means I use what I see in my spirituality and imagination. Elisa Lam was highly philosophical and a strong believer of faith and devotion to what she could see and what she could use. Remember, Capricorn being very resourceful. She had a hard time differentiating what was real and what was imagination. So what was she inventing versus what was in front of her. This is her living between two worlds. So spirituality to her would have to be proven with some sort of evidence. If she couldn't see it, she wouldn't believe in it. However, this planet is in a square aspect with her Aries Mercury. And if you guys remember what I said earlier about Neptune and our spiritual gifts, we have to look at certain aspects to see if these are subconscious or conscious gifts. So something a person is aware of or unaware of. In her case, because it's a square aspect with her Aries Mercury, and her Aries Mercury was very dominant, she would have been very unaware of these gifts. Let's go right into what Mercury square Neptune means. In Elisa Lam's case, it means that there was a disconnect between what she felt versus what she saw spiritually or paranormally, right? So again, because it's in a square aspect, these are subconscious or hidden gifts that somebody's not really aware of. And a lot of us have these spiritual gifts, whether they're subconscious or conscious, and society has made us all really believe that only certain types of people can be spiritual or have a strong connection with a higher entity. Long story short, Elisa was definitely a medium, but again, she was very unaware of her gifts, and she was very much struggling with this part of herself, this part of her identity, which society didn't want to come out, didn't want to accept this part of her. So if you looked over her Tumblr, she's going, on these long rants about her emotions and often being very misunderstood But I also feel like she misunderstood herself a lot because a lot of her placements were in the 12th house of self-undoing. A lot of times, planets in the 12th house, they often self-sabotage without really knowing why they're doing it. And it's because they have a harder time getting to know themselves or accepting who they really are without feeling pressured by society. So from what we've all gathered from the previous video, we know that Elisa Lam was an avid traveler. She traveled all the time and nothing happened to her prior to her visit on Stay on Main, which is part of the Cecil Hotel. It was only when she visited that her life came to a tragic end. But why, right? If we go back to that last slide, we're going to see that majority of these tragedies happened because people jumped from a building floor, which is crazy to me that they would all choose to do that. Also, I know a lot of people, again, will say that she's having a manic episode here because of her medications or her mental illness. But there's no evidence of her going off the deep end in the past. Not even in her Tumblr, where she wrote about her life all the time. And there's no evidence from family and friends who knew her personally. So if they did know that about her, I highly doubt that they would let her travel alone in another country of all places, right? Like, there's no way that they would let her go somewhere if they didn't feel like she could take care of herself. And if you watched the last video, I said that her family actually came down to look for her. They came down to look for her. That's how much they cared about her. They didn't just say, okay, toodaloo, goodbye, never seeing you again. No, they cared about her. They had a routine phone call with her because they were worried about her going to a different country. And I'm telling you now that I just feel like her family, if they cared that much about her and they knew that she would have manic episodes, would have tried to stop her or prevent her from trying to harm herself or trying to harm anybody else. The strangest part of this whole mystery was how she was able to get up to the top floor without setting off the exit door alarm. So if you watch the Netflix documentary, the staff says that it was always locked and that the alarm would have went off if somebody were to go through it. Granted, it could have just been off that night, who knows. So a lot of people have been saying that she must have went through the window, up the ladder to the top floor, which cannot be disregarded because it's very possible. As said earlier, there are many tragedies that happened, a lot of them jumping off from the building. So here is my theory. I believe that a spirit led her to her own demise. A spirit led her to the top, but not to drown her. Okay, not to drown her, no, but to have her jump off the building itself. The reason why I say that is because she was unaware of her gifts. So she was speaking to spirits and wasn't really knowing about it. Like, okay, this is the crazy things are happening at this hotel. Not sure why, but she was so sensitive to it. The video shows that she was clearly talking to someone, and it was leading her to that window, leading her up the stairs, leading her away from the elevator. And that's the scary part, was because we see it happening, but we just don't want to believe it. And for whatever reason, I feel like the tank was already open. It was already open. And so it led her up there to basically jump from the tank all the way down. But since it was already open, she either jumped or she slipped into the open tank already. I don't think that she opened it herself. I don't think that she would have been able to. Even crazier that this wasn't the last death that happened at this hotel. Because on June 13th, 2015, a 28-year-old man jumped from a building floor, and the cause of death is left undetermined. We don't know why right now, at least from based on my research, don't know why he did it. Now tell me that there isn't a jumping ghost there. How can that not be possible? Nobody is pushing them off. Something is influencing them. Something supernatural is influencing them to do it. And it's taking over them, possessing them at nighttime even, and getting into their spirit and making them do these things that otherwise in a normal situation they wouldn't be doing. But it's only at this hotel. Now, why does this tie in with Elisa Lam being a medium? Again, sensitive to spirits, unaware that spirits were there. For whatever reason, she went there, and there was a lot of spirits, a lot of deaths that happened, so she was sensitive, and her spirit was open to the spiritual realm already, her spirit was left vulnerable, thus making it easy for the jumping ghost to take advantage of her. That is my theory, you guys. That's it. Alright, so that's the end of my video. If you guys want to learn more about astrology, you can buy my astrology book, You Are More Than Just Your Sun Sign, which is out on Amazon right now. If not, that's cool too. Do you? And just let me know what you guys think. What is your theory on it? You may not agree with my theory, but what is your theory on the whole situation? Because this whole thing has been freaking me out. I plan on doing more videos like this. This is going to be my new thing, you guys. Hopefully it improves over time, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Okay, bye.